What is going on, you guys? Today I have another quick video review for you. This one is from AK Joel's Colombia, and it's called Why Dating Colombian Women is Very Different. Let's get into it.
Welcome back, legends. Today we have a very exciting video for you all, especially those of you who are interested in dating a Colombiana, because there's some things that they do which are very, very different to how we do it wherever you may be. We're going to be counting down from 5 being kind of a bit different to 1, which is very different and very strange and might shock you.
And I'm going to provide the Colombian point of view.
With that said, let's go straight into number 5. Colombian women prefer you to be much more direct. In our countries, there's a big riffraff around treat them mean, keep them keen. You need to show like you're busy, you got stuff to do, you're hanging out with your mates, you don't have all your time on the girl. She texts you, oh, leave it on red. Text back in like a few hours or even the next day. It's all some sort of bullshit game, right? In Colombia, they don't do that. Isn't that right?
Yeah, there is very little of what we call, I guess, the game. One of the things that I noticed here when I first got here in 2010 was that guys and girls, they grow up together with each other a lot. So guys are very comfortable being around women, whether it's within their own family, with cousins, but also in school, their friends. To your point that there is no game. The game in Colombia is very easy. You just talk to a person like if you were talking to your cousin, to your sister, even to your mother. It's a way different dynamic than in the United States. In the United States, guys are still paying $1,000, $2,000 to go to a weekend seminar to learn how to talk to a girl and play the game. Here, you don't have to play the game.
Here in Colombia, you have to be direct because here we are very straightforward. So if you don't text back or you take a long time, we're going to take it as if you're not interested. If you're interested, you text, you invite, you ask out. You don't have to be like playing any games with Colombians.
Especially if you go to, like, for example, a salsa dancing club or whatever. The game there is just you put out your hand. She takes it and dances with you or not. Yep. It's very easy. And here, if it's salsa, they're not going to reject you. You'll be dancing, touching, even talking, and having a great time. And then you go back. She may even have a boyfriend. She may be not even interested in you, but you're dancing and you're getting to know. And that barrier of like, oh, you know, how can I pick her up? Yeah. What can I say to make her interested in ask me questions or answer my questions? There's none of that here, which is very refreshing.
If you don't speed up, like you lose your chance. Like how many times a girl is going to be asked out in a week? If you're not direct and I'm not interested, I'm going with the next one, ciao.
You could be placing your own walls or your own barriers where you think like, wow, that girl is so beautiful. And you have her on this pedestal where you don't even go over and ask her to dance. And then she's asking your friends if you're gay. Because I've seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen that where a gringo is not only afraid to go talk to a girl because she's so beautiful, but on top of that, maybe they don't know how to dance very well and they're self-conscious and they don't want to look like a fool, where they could have easily said, hey, let's dance. I don't know how to dance. I'm just learning. Yeah. This is all I know. That's the greatest pickup line of all time.
Because I'll teach you.
Teaching you.
I'll teach you. That can work here. But it's all about being direct. You cannot be picking up women here if you're a pussy. You need to be a little bit more just like, as you said, break down those barriers of rejection because they don't really care about that here. They're not going to laugh in your face or anything. Yeah. They're very polite people and you can just go up. You need to make your intentions known.
That's a really good point. They know that it's natural for you to ask them out and approach them and show interest. It's not like whatever weirdness is going on in the US or other Western countries where they play like, they turn their nose up like, oh, I don't know, I'm not into you, this and that, or like playing any games. They're very receptive to it and they know what's going on. And so they'll tell you kindly yes or no. By the way, that it's not going to be like this blowout rejection. I think that's what guys like biggest fears is like, blows up in their face. But it's so chill. It's so chill. You wouldn't even believe it. So this is why like it's good to actually start getting yourself out there. I mean, even in the US, for example, like where I'm from, you could start approaching girls and it's not going to be as big of a deal as you're making it in your head. I promise.
Yeah, that reminds me of my friend when he got here. So we'd go out and there'd be a group of girls and he's like, oh, I'm going to go talk to the fat one. And I'll be like, what do you mean? He's like, well, we need to break the circle. I'm like, break the circle? What the fuck are you talking about? Don't talk to the fat one. She's going to think you like her.
Also, how did you find a fat woman in Colombia?
Well, I guess the less attractive one.
Okay.
You might have to edit out some of this shit. But he said, I need to go talk to that less attractive one so I can break the circle. And I'm like, talk to the less attractive one to break the circle? What are you talking about? Just go talk to the one that you like. Ask her to dance. So he did. They ended up dating.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wait. So this is your mentality coming from the United States where you have to break a social circle by talking to the one that you're not interested in because you don't want to seem too forward. Here, there's none of that. It's like if you like someone, you go up to them and say, you could even say, hey, I like you.
A way I would put it is in Colombia, it's a lot more animalistic. It's a lot more, let's say, basic. There's no games. You just need to tell someone, hey, this is how it is. I'm interested in you. You want it or not? And one of my friends told me this. What girls will do in the gym, if you're in the gym and you're pumping some bicep curls or whatever you do, a girl will walk straight past you and come and stand in front of you and maybe like be showing like this or something. And what they want to know is if you're a huevon or not. A huevon basically means like a shit kicker, like a guy without balls. And they'll come and kind of, do some flirting in front of you. And the real men in their eyes will be, hey, how are you? Or talk to them straight away. Have you heard about this?
Yes. Yeah, it happens all the time. I go a little step further, talking about there not being the traditional game that in the US sometimes these guys sell or dating coaches sell over there. But you still have to have some sort of game or at least a sense of humor, a personality. So for example, that'll happen to me every now and then at the gym.
Girl comes up and she's doing some moves in front of you.
And I'll go up to her and I can see that she looks up like she in her mind is like, okay, he's going to talk to me. And I'll say, perdón, ¿te puedes mover un poco? Like that. I'll be like, es que me estaba mirando. Estás enfrente de mí, me estaba mirando cuando estaba. That will like send them completely bonkers. They're like, And you could see what the thoughts racing in their mind. But it's also a good way to feel them out, because if they were really not interested in me, maybe the guy behind me was way better looking, which is a lot of the times it does happen. But if she's interested, I'll know from her reaction being like, oh, okay. And then I'll go up to her after and saying, hey, I noticed that you were doing something or whatever.
A lot of tips for you guys coming here on how to approach women. There's one thing you take away from this is you can be direct in Colombia. It's actually going to work in your favor. Don't play games. Fuck these games off. Leave that shit wherever you're from. Get straight to the point. And one last thing I really must say, a lot of the time when I was dating in Oz, it would be like, okay, I went out with her on Friday night. That was an awesome time, but I can't ask her out for another week or 2 weeks. I got to be chilling, maybe dating some girls and doing some other shit. But here, you can basically ask them out the next day. If you're interested, just go for it. Hey, babe, we had a good day on, maybe don't say babe, but we had a good day on Friday. You want to go out on Saturday? Like my girlfriend, in the first week, we dated 3 times.
Yeah.
I would never do that in a state. That would be like a 1 month ordeal.
We were texting back and forth the whole time, and it was okay. Like I noticed that you were interested, so that's why I kept also the conversation, and we kept on doing plans. If you would have ghosted me by the second date, I would be like, okay, next. No.
Don't be scared. If you like it, make it happen, right? Yeah. Number 4 is...
And that's a good point. Like, I think other countries outside of like Western ones who are doing the weirdness with the games and stuff like that, or they're like standoffish, for example. So you don't have to do that in these places. And I noticed that some are open to moving a lot faster. I think it still could benefit you to sort of pace the relationship, be the masculine leader there. Maybe not see them too much early on, right? But what this guy's saying is great. Like, that's a good example. He saw her like 3 times in the first week or 2. So like, wasn't this 1 time a week or 2 times a week? It was 3, right? And that was reasonable. It wasn't too fast or anything like that. And I've definitely seen, like in Latin America. I'm not sure about the other places that expats like to go, like Eastern Europe, parts of Africa. But for me, like in Latin America and Asia, I notice girls definitely move faster than you might be used to. So you got to sort of adjust to that a little bit.
Despite what you see in social media and reggaeton music, the girls actually here are quite hard to sleep with. They don't really have the one-night stand or pickup culture here. Isn't that right, Andrew?
Yeah, one-night stand culture is not prevalent here. And I think it's from years of dating culture being a certain way. One of the things that a lot of people need to understand is that people live with their parents and their family for longer than in the US or Australia or the UK, where usually at 18 years old, it's like you're off to college if your family has some sort of money or you got some sort of scholarship and you're maybe moving out of the city, getting a job or whatever. So by 18, 20, 22, 24, 25, you're out of that house. Like you're no longer living with your parents, but here you don't. It's very common for someone to live with their parents well over the age of 25, up to 30. I've seen some instances where people will get pregnant and live with their parents and raise the kids in that same house, living together for pretty much their whole life.
One big reason that pickup culture is not a thing here is because they might still be living with their family. But there's another reason as well, and that's safety, right, Andrew?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because of the history that Colombia has had with safety. You just don't bring like a stranger over to your house.
Out of all my friends, I don't think they have ever had like a random one-night stand, maybe in another country, or maybe because they knew the guy from before, a friend of a friend, like they have some sort of reference, not just like bringing anyone to your house on a first date. Normally, Colombian girls are going to date like within their friends group or like a friend of a friend. They got introduced into their group and they started dating. But it's not that common that you're sitting at a cafe and someone randomly starts speaking to you and you, okay, I'm going on a date with this guy. That's not that common here in Colombia.
They're a lot more careful about who they let into their lives at such an early stage in a relationship. So I have heard cases where you'll be dating a girl 6, 7 times before it ever gets to that stage. So the lesson here is be a bit more patient. Don't just give up because, you haven't slept with her after the first or second date, because she still might be very interested, but it just takes a little bit longer here sometimes. Number 3 on the list of cultural differences in dating in Colombia. You might be introduced to the family very early in the relationship.
Yeah, it's happened a handful of times in the 13 years here. It would be the first or second or third date, and part of the date is me going to their house and meeting the family. And in one occasion, they were having a party, and we just ended up staying there the whole time. And I was dancing with the grandma, with the aunt, with the cousins, and having a great time, eating with the family. And it was amazing because in the US, you would have to be in a pretty serious relationship for quite a while in order for something like that to happen.
Colombians.
I love that point. Okay. Same thing we're talking about, the speed of which this stuff happens in other countries. So, like in the US, for example, or maybe some other Western countries, some people don't even become official for like 3 months or 6 months or longer. They're stuck in these like hookup cultures, situationships, friends with benefits, blah, blah, blah. I wish I didn't even know the word situationship, right? But this is such a good example because if they were interested, they're at least showing that like all up front. They're a lot more direct. He's talking about maybe meeting the family pretty early. That was like date 3 or something he said. That's honestly pretty refreshing. And you have to unwind, like don't bring whatever shit you were thinking from your home country to there, because that's gonna freak you out if you're like, whoa, like this is too fast. I don't know. it's normal, and maybe we're the weird ones with our culture that's too slow, games and this and that. Just keep this in mind because that's them showing high interest that they really maybe see some potential in you too. So obviously, I mean, maybe don't go too fast with them. You know, pace it so you can keep your head on straight and not get too like in your emotions and like the lust side of things. Like you can like hook up too fast too. So he just mentioned that like they're not as into doing like the one night stand things and like the hookup culture, which I think honestly is good, because lust, like even if you're like a playboy, like guys, if they're lonely and they don't really get much attention from women, they think hookup culture might be a good thing. Like they want to reach that point, but you really don't, and I'll tell you why. Because lust is on a low vibration, right? So it's very like animalistic, and it doesn't actually do you any good. Like you would be a lot more successful and productive and be using that masculine energy for better things, creating a higher quality life overall, even attracting a better woman, if you weren't feeding into that lust and constantly giving your time and attention to finding another date, like even like the energy that you expend, from releasing, right? That's something that could be saved for something much better. I think you get what I'm saying.
Really like hanging out with their family. Don't think that this is like a big deal to them or like, oh my God, we just like are going to get married or anything like that. No, meeting the parents is so casual here. It doesn't mean nothing important.
Can often take 6 months.
I like that too. So it's so casual, it's not a big deal. So you shouldn't think that it's a big deal just because you're bringing your weird culture over. And by the way, this is a good example because I had this experience in Asia, and I also had this experience in Peru. By the way, I dated a girl maybe on like our third or fourth date, I think, and she asked me something along the lines of, "Do I believe in moving in together first, or for moving in together before getting married, or getting married before moving in together?" And my Western brain took that way too far and like started to freak out, and I was like, no, like different country, it's not that big of a deal. She's just asking a question. It's not about like whether that's going to happen with me or not, but obviously it's easy to freak out if you're used to Western culture.
For a year or sometimes years for you to meet your partner's parents. But here, second date, you can be right over there. So it can be very overwhelming for some of you guys, especially if you don't speak Spanish, but just enjoy the experience is all I can say. Hey, number 2 on the list, now we're getting to the nitty gritty. You're expected to pay for basically everything in terms of dating. Some of you guys might be from countries where 50-50 split is very common. You go on a date, you take out a girl, the first time you pay for it, it's kind of like the manly thing to do, you impress them, whatever. A lot of the times I've actually had women fight with me and be like, nah, I earn my own money, I'm paying, I don't want you to pay for me.
It's very different when you are, let's say, a foreigner, or you're living in a strato 6 or 5, and you're dating a girl that's maybe living in a strato 3, 2. For them, just to get an Uber to come over to you could be a day's work. Paying 25,000 pesos to get to your house and then going back home, another 20, that's 50,000 pesos.
That's $10, yeah.
Yeah, that's a day's work. Could be a day's work for somebody, especially if they come from a lower income. That could be very daunting for them. And a lot of times they may even flake because of that.
So people coming and dating here in Colombia, say they meet a beautiful woman and they want to take her out. Should they get on the front foot and be like, hey, I'm going to pay for you, let's do this? Is that a good thing to do?
I would say absolutely, because I'd rather not let money get in the way of something that could be amazing, like a friendship or a relationship. Let that figure itself out later. To answer your question, if you're coming from another country and you're making $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 a month, you could pay a $2.50 taxi or Uber.
I understand that when you're dating a girl the first couple of times, it's even in our country, it's like, yeah, you take a girl out a few times, and once you develop more of a relationship, you start moving towards that 50-50, right? At least from where I am in Australia, that's what happened. I never really had any girls who, when we went to the second date, at least they were like, no, you paid for the last time, I'm going to do this one, and they would insist. But here, once you move past even the initial part of dating, when you're in a relationship, should you also pay for everything?
Well, I mean, that just comes down to the relationship and personalities and also economics. If you're coming here and you're dating a girl that's making about the same amount of money as you, then yeah, splitting it is great, especially if it's a relationship.
Okay.
I mean, that works.
So it's not a cultural thing. But let me ask
it's an economic thing.
Let me ask this another way. So we're foreigners, we earn a lot more money, hence we pay for girls, right?
Yeah.
What if you're a Colombian man and you earn the same as a Colombian woman? Do you also pay for everything?
No, like for example, when I was a teacher in downtown at a really big language school, and I only taught young adults. There were men and women in those classes, and I would always ask this stuff, like, so who pays on the dates? And the women always even said, the men do. And I'm like, okay, that's the first date, second date. And I would ask, well, what about now? Does your husband pay everything? She's like, no, we've been together forever. We split everything. And I'm like, oh, so there is a turning point where, you're a couple, you're working together for a goal. So there is that dynamic here.
In my group of friends, all of the ones that are in long-term relationships, they always go half and half. I don't have any friend that is like a stay-at-home partner. No, everyone works and pays half of the bills of everything.
Now, if you're a foreigner making a lot of money and you keep paying and paying and paying and you pay forever, they call that el marrano.
What's that mean?
That means that you're the pig. Everyone's eating from the pig. So it's a term here.
Okay.
That's like, oh, he's the marrano. And that term wasn't invented for gringos or foreigners coming here. That term was invented for other Colombian men that were being taken advantage of because they were very generous and they had money to be generous and they were being taken advantage of. So when that's happening, Colombian on Colombian, that person is called the pig, el marrano.
So it's not really a cultural difference. It's more just a disparity in earnings.
For example, if you're dating someone that is from a lower income level here, they call them estratos. Let's say a strato 3, and you're making
Lower middle class.
Yeah, lower middle class, and you're dating a girl because you met her on a dating app or whatever the case may be, and you're making $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month. They see that like they hit the lottery, rightfully so, because I think if I were in that same situation, growing up in that same situation, and then I'm dating somebody that's making a world of a difference of money,
10 times minimum wage.
10 times minimum wage, I would be like, okay, the way that they're brought up is way different than someone that is brought up in a middle to upper class family where work is valued, your pride is valued a lot higher.
Yeah.
It could be economical in that situation, an economic difference, but it's also a cultural difference.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in your country, wherever you're at right now. If you're dating a girl from the ghetto and you live in the hills, do you think you're going to be splitting bills with that girl from the ghetto?
It's a very good point you make.
Use your brain. Don't be the fucking marrano out here. But at the same time, don't be the guy that's going to be thinking, oh, every woman's taking advantage of me. Colombian women are gold diggers. Well, stop fucking dating girls that you meet on Tinder that have bricks and wires hanging in their pictures, or girls that you're picking up on the street that are working girls, and it's not working out.
Yeah, I think what you say is very important. If you want a relationship which is a bit more split and you don't feel like you're being taken advantage of, if you have to generalize, we would say the girls that are more likely to pay and take pride in, hey, I can pay my own way and stuff, would be from higher class neighborhoods, and the ones which will quite happily sit back and let you pay for everything would be from the lower neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And that's not to say anything bad about everyone. That's just life.
I've never dated a girl that asked me for money.
Yeah.
I never dated a girl that asked me for things. Like sometimes I hear like these comments or read these comments or hear from people that are here that say, she was asking me for money, so I was giving her, $400 a month or whatever, while this person's living in the United States because she has a kid, she's doing bad, her mom is like everything that you could talk about, and then all of a sudden she asks me that she needs the new iPhone or that she needs a motorcycle, and that's where I drew the line. I'm like, bro, you should have drawn the line when you're paying her $400 a month to do nothing.
Traditional relationship roles that used to be true in the past, but I don't think that really applies to our generation. The reason is because our grandmothers or even maybe our mothers or aunts were in this kind of relationships and they just had like all the negatives of it. Maybe their husbands left, or their husbands were not actually providing for the family. So I think it's in our mentality right now that we need to work, that we need to also be providers, because we don't want to risk to be in a place where we don't have education or work and we cannot live a marriage that we don't want to be in. So it's all like to account when you're actually in a relationship.
Anyone who's complaining and saying Colombian women are gold diggers and all they do is take advantage of people and they suck and I need to go somewhere else to date, Colombia's not the place. Stop being a little bitch. Basically, you need to grow up and you need to be a fucking man because you're getting taken advantage of because you're going for the wrong women.
There's a word for that here in Spanish. Lo barato sale caro. Whatever is cheap usually ends up being more expensive. That also applies to dating. Like when you take the easy route, when you pay for women of the night and you try to make a relationship with them, because I've seen that happen here.
Or even not even women of the night. If you just pay a woman and the only thing you offer is money, how do you think that's going to end up?
Yeah, and she's seeing you only because you are the pig. And there are some guys that are okay with that. And they don't complain about it. Kudos to you guys. But for those that do complain, it's like, okay, grow some balls, increase your standards, work on yourself, be the best version of you.
I can only talk from my experience. I cannot talk about like all the women in Colombia. So I'm an educated woman with a stable job. From my social circle and how I have approached my relationships, I think maybe the first 2 dates they would pay for me, but then it's like, okay, if we're starting something a little bit more serious, then split half and half. And I think that's just fair. I mean, for me, the first one is just...
You should look out for that because it's a good sign when they start to offer to split with you. So, I mean, just keep that in mind, because if they never offer, then that might be sort of like a yellow red flag there just to think about. And I think this other point that he's making about like the complainers, the whiners, like, oh, they're all gold diggers. They just want your money. They just want your green card. Well, a lot of them don't want to leave their country. And a lot of people would recommend not to bring them back to like the US, for example, anyways. But he's right about like not complaining about that, because like the same could be said in the US too, or like a Western country. Like someone could want you for just your money. You need to develop the ability as a man to have everything covered and also know how to meet the right kinds of women and basically interview them properly. I don't mean like literally interview them, but like know how to filter out ones that just want to be with you for money and ones that are actually a really amazing girl for something potentially long term.
Like you're showing interest in me, so you want to take me out. But then the other ones is just like we both want to be there. So we both pay.
So any of you guys wondering anything, let us know. We'd be happy to make another video about it where we answer some of your questions. Leave all those questions in the comments. Like this video.
Yeah, really good video. Obviously, go check out AK Joel's Colombia and subscribe over here. I'm building to 1,000 subscribers so I can help more guys live a life by design instead of one that was designed for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.